I still was a little surprised that you would be more okay with a loss at home to Rutgers than a loss on the road to Purdue.
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot. I'm still okay with it.
Yeah, first roadie, maybe dealing with success.
I get it. I mean, I would get it.
If you get off to a good start.
Yeah, if they start off 4-0, I get it. I get how it could happen. I just think Rutgers is going to be better this year. And I haven't got
But sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's about where you catch somebody in the schedule.
No, but I mean, for me, about how I would feel about the loss.
Yeah.
I would feel better about Rutgers because I think they're going to be better. Not that I think it's more likely or less likely.
So like at first blush, if I said, oh, man, Nebraska lost to Purdue on the road versus, hey, man, Nebraska lost to Rutgers at home.
I mean, full disclosure, it's going to depend on how each of those teams ends up being at the end of the season. Like if I'm looking back at it, for me, it's going to depend on how those teams. So if,
that is such a safe way to play it.
No, that's just how I feel though. Like, because I mean, like the Colorado is a great example of this, both against Nebraska last year and TCU.
And I don't want to shoot down the theory. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so the Colorado TCU game felt like a huge win for Colorado in the moment because TCU played in the national championship game the year before, right? We knew they were going to be worse. We didn't know what they were going to be though. By the end of the season, you look at it, you're like, it's nice to win your first game of the Dion era, whatever. But you look at it, it was an exciting game. But you look at it and you go, that's not really a great win.
Yeah, but in the same vein, Colorado's a vastly different team in Week 10 than they are in Week 2.
100%.
So, like,
I get it.
I'm just a big stay-in-the-moment guy because injuries happen, morale happens. Like, it's different. I think so.
It is for sure. And I guess my point was in the discussion last week and kind of continuing is if I'm looking at big picture and I'm getting 8-4 because this is where this started, right? Is we were guaranteed Citrus Bowl and 8-4, right?
I did like the fact that Tony bailed you out because he said it real succinctly. He was like, I think Ravi's trying to explain 8 wins and how you get there and not have it look ugly.
Yes.
Otherwise,
100%.
You have to be talking about 9-3.
Yeah.
And I was like, got it.
100%. Yeah. There's only
tip your cap to TG. Say thanks, Tony. I
appreciate you, Tony.
It's good looking up. He always has your back now. Last 2 months, man, this dude is like they're filling in all the Ravi blanks.
In order to get to 8-4 and not have an extended losing streak at the end of the season, which is what I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
You have to lose either Purdue or Rutgers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't go 7-0 and then lose 4 of your last 5 and be like, I feel great about 8-4, right? Because you wouldn't. We've sort of been there before in a similar spot with Riley, where they start 7-0, you lose 3 of your last 5, and you don't feel great about it.
It's like we have moved on past that season, and that was like Nebraska's last.
It was their last bowl game. It was their last decent season,
right?
It was. I mean, they were top 10 ranked in the country,
and we were miserable the week because we just felt the whole way through it was fool's gold.
Yeah, but guess what? I would love some fool's gold right now.
Yeah,
I'd be thrilled with 7-0 fool's gold, but I won't be thrilled losing 4 of the last 5 if that's how it plays out, right? So that's all it is for me. Would I be like, and we're talking degrees of separation here.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be thrilled with a Rutgers loss and devastated by a Purdue loss, right? Just top of like, if I think Rutgers is better than Purdue, which I do, I'd rather lose to the better team.
Yeah.
And Nebraska hasn't gotten so good at home yet that I'm like, oh, they can't lose at home. You know what I mean? Like they haven't defended their home turf well enough that I'm like, they can't lose a home game.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you though, you stub your toe at home to Rutgers, and Nebraska isn't where they need to be, right? Because Rutgers will be in a similar vein. They will look. And I hadn't even done the defensive statistics, but we heard when we did our Rutgers preview.
Yeah,
their play-by-play guy was like, "Listen, man, they don't turn teams over enough. Got to get off the field on 3rd down." And I'm like, they don't get after the quarterback enough. And I'm like, but they're still good defensively. I'm like, that's
Who's
Nebraska.
that sound like?
That's Nebraska, right? Like that. Those are all the things that Nebraska's working on. So I just think if we're having the kind of season from a projection standpoint that you want to have, that I want to have, that Nebraska has to win those games at home. They just do. Coin flip games at home have to be won by Nebraska. Otherwise, these conversations, it's like, because if we can't win those games on the road, I can't begin to get my mind around pulling off an upset on the road.
Yeah.
Which at some point you're going to have to be able to do too. So
right.
When I look at the quarterback play within the conference, I think that's where you have to start. Like, is Kalik Manis Kelly is all of a sudden that he's going to be the answer. They say he's an upgrade from Whitsitt. Okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
Right. I have no idea what's going on in Iowa. I listen to any sort of media availability they have. I'm trying to find it online. I'm going to my either Kakert or Doctorman or somebody. Right there, they haven't even remotely tipped their hand at a starting quarterback yet. It's been very reluctant. I would not assume that it's McNamara just yet. Go to
some of the few things we have heard out of Iowa is that it's not going great for McNamara.
I mean, is Van Dyke, is he going to have
better than Mordecai?
What we couldn't get out of Jeff Sims? We're a guy that's had a propensity to turn the ball over. Is he all of a sudden not going to turn the ball over?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
that's what you're
and
that's
a guy
what you're
that
hoping
hasn't really been who you kind of thought he would be since 2021.
Yeah. What will Ohio State's offense look like if they don't settle in and they play two guys? Because for all intents and purposes, I think they're playing two guys.
Yeah.
Day doesn't say what he said the other day about Julian Sands without that big, like, okay. Like, there may be something to that. So
and I haven't really been sold on the Will Howard thing since it happened.
No, I know. I get it. But I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the relationship between OCs and if it's plural.
Yeah.
Right? Because Day is heavy-handed offensively, but 100%. He does have a ton of respect for
Chip.
Yeah. But Howard is a Chip Kelly kind of guy.
Yes.
So I'm going to give that the benefit of the doubt. UCLA ran the ball pretty well. Chip's last couple of years quietly at UCLA, better than I think.
Yeah, like with DTR.
Yeah, man. They ran the ball.
Yeah. They were a physical team. That's the thing that they never got credit for when he was at Oregon, is they were a pretty physical football team.
So I just look at the quarterback situations around Nebraska's going to play a young guy. So it's just a lot of unknowns. At least for me.
The Ohio State one really intrigues me because
do you really know how they're going to play at SC?
No.
Not very good sample size.
No.
And they got a big one early.
And I think at some point, I know they changed defensive coordinators and all that. And at some point, does Lincoln Riley ever ask himself, am I part of the problem here?
Why would he ask himself that?
On the defensive side of the ball?
Ooh, I don't know about that.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe.
Do you even ask the question? Because it's been so bad. Pretty consistent. The defense have been pretty consistently struggling with Lincoln Riley.
I mean, I guess it's kind of, I think I kind of have the cheat code because I talked to Coach White about the courting at SC. And so I think I know what Lincoln Riley wants.
Okay.
Now, it is up to him to make it happen. But I don't think he's a guy that's like, just get the ball back from my offense.
Okay, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? I think of him.
Yeah, but I don't think it's like that. Unless there was just such reverence for White and wanting him to be in SoCal that he
was pitching him.
You say things that you don't really mean, which I don't.
Wouldn't be the first time. And
yeah, I think I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt there. Right?
I don't have any reason not to.
And I don't have enough conviction to be like, hey, man, I'm right. I'm just going by the feel of the conversation.
Totally fair.
So,
because I think the perception of Lincoln Riley is
but I do
just
think
give me the ball back.
I do think D'' is
legit,
is an upgrade.
Yeah.
And you start looking at, look at the coordinators in this conference, the defensive coordinators in this conference. It's a big boy league.
Oh, 100%.
So I think you better be able to play. You better be able to play good defense. I think there's pressure on Tosh in Oregon.
Yeah.
Oh, I do, because the repetitiveness of physicality, you can't simulate that. You just have to train in such a way where time doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's not like
it's one thing to be a physical team in a not physical conference. It's another team to be.
If there's only if there's only Oregon State, Utah, and Oregon, right, that play that way at the line of scrimmage,
three, you can kind of take.
Yeah, if
not weeks off, but if you get breaks.
If the bulks of the team that you play in the trenches,
if
like
you're
that,
going Iowa,
and
Wisconsin,
they don't even have to be
Michigan.
spectacular. It's just rigor.
Yeah, it's just
you don't understand how to push the rigor until you go through
it's
rigor.
just a beating, right?
Right?
Like, it's not.
So I hope there's something to that, because I think that's the biggest thing that Nebraska learned under this new staff last year was, hey man, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Right? We don't want to be limping to the finish line. We want to be fresh. Because it is a big boy league. Playing Iowa at the end of the year at 6:30 in Iowa City,
Not for everyone.
You already know what type of party that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what you're not afforded the luxury to do is to fast forward and be like, hey, man, I just got to get through these first 11 games. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that in this league.
No, you can do that in other leagues.
And so I think coaches have to you have to negotiate that with depth.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Oregon, you've got, I mean, one that people don't think about, like Illinois beats on you.
Mm-hmm.
Like Illinois is a physical
gap scheme, G scheme. Like you watch their run game.
Yeah,
you have to be prepared to play that a certain way.
Yeah, they are,
and Bielema, like he's one of the best in the business at teaching it.
Yeah, they're gonna beat your head in. Oregon's got Oregon State again this year.
I mean, do we like what's going on in Illinois with the quarterback? Like the quarterback spot in the Big Ten is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not totally sold on Dylan Gabriel either. Like the numbers, we said this off air a little bit. The numbers are gonna be there.
Yeah, and I'm already on record with I like Gabriel. I don't love Gabriel, and
that's like
getting inside the numbers.
Yeah,
like he did the bulk of his work last year. I think I'm misremembering. I do know against the two top 20 defenses that he played, the two best teams they played at the time, Kansas and Okie State, he was 1 touchdown, 2 picks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was weird because he still completed 74% of his passes, but it wasn't productive in terms of generating points. So I mean, I don't know. He threw 16 of his 30 touchdowns in 5 games.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The ability to play catch vertically in this league in crucial moments is going to separate teams that are looking at the 12-team playoff and not. I'm not talking about playing pitch and catch on RPOs, right? I'm not talking about tunnel screens and speed outs, right? Those are great. Like,
but you're talking about like 3rd and 8.
Yeah, I'm talking 3rd and 8, hitting a skinny, or completing an over route on like a 3rd and 12, where you got to quell the crowd and
you have to convert.
Right, like those are the things that I'm talking about that I think are the difference.
Where you're like, hey, I have to pick up a first down right now, and I can't count on a missed tackle.
Didn't matter how some of these, like Stetson Bennett, for all the hand wringing we did over what JJ McCarthy wasn't. At third and 9, man, dude made plays, right? And then all of a sudden you realize that Roman Wilson was on your team.
Yeah.
Or Loveland was a really, really good tight end. So those are the guys that when you get in meaningful games late in October and early November, man, it ain't 3rd and 4 RPOs when it's cute and fun and, 1st and 10 when you got a 2-way go. I'm talking about 3rd and 9 nut cutting time. Those are the guys. And I don't know if there's a ton of proven commodities. I mean, like right now you ask me, do I trust Van Dyke 3rd and 9?
No.
Yeah. And, on
do I trust
Saturday night in Madison when Nebraska's there?
Do I trust Drew Aller?
Another guy whose numbers, like, wouldn't you think Penn State we'd having different if a guy goes 26-2,
you think we were having different conversations about Penn State?
Yeah, prolific offense, but people still say, I don't know about Drew.
That's because people watched it,
right? But so
what I mean?
So my point is, but I would be tickled with 26-2.
Oh, without a doubt. But Penn State goals and Nebraska goals right now are not in the same. We're having different conversations.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
you know what I mean?
Like it's incredible the scrutiny that
Penn State gets.
Oh,
because right now, I mean,
but
Penn State's winning 10 games a year, basically. That's the average.
Yeah, but
that we did.
Again, when you're in the preseason top 10, as much as they are, and I think the last 8 years it's been 5 or 6, maybe. Like a lot is expected of you.
100%.
Right? But they have won back-to-back years of 7 games in the conference. It's just that those 2 L's
were the 2 that they needed the most.
So Ohio State and Michigan. So
yes.
26-2 for them is probably like, man, where were we on like 3rd and 9 with our back against the wall on the 22-yard line or something like that?
26-2 is like, where did that get us? Where did 26-2 get us?
So I understand that fully, but
Whereas, like, if Dylan Raiola goes 26-2, Nebraska 100% gets to their 8 wins, probably 9.
Yeah.
And we're having a totally different conversation. Like, the end games are different.
Yeah, if Nebraska doesn't turn the ball over and they're generating 26 touchdowns via the pass,
yeah, they're fine. They're going to be
absolutely. But it's just weird how, like it's a school like Penn State can't say that.
Yeah, no,
it's mind-boggling, which is why the game is more than just stats.
Yes. One, it's again just the context of what is needed at Penn State this year versus what is needed at Nebraska this year is pretty dramatically different. But your point about the quarterbacks, and I guess Tom was making this point as well, it is, so the top 24/7 put out a list a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. Top quarterbacks. I saw
Number 1 was Gabriel. We both, again, the numbers are going to be there. Is he going to be the guy you need him to be?
Let's put him on, yeah.
Number 2 is Drew Aller. We just had a conversation about Drew Aller. The numbers are going to be there. Is he going to be who you need him to be?
Here's a better way to look at that.
Yeah.
Are Penn State fans, do you think, championing that?
Excited that
yeah.
Or do you think Penn State fans would make an argument that he's won? Maybe that's the better question.
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I don't think so.
That's my point, though, about Aller.
I think with Drew, I think they're thinking, I think the natural inclination, and maybe we got to pull enough PSU fans. I think they're thinking, I think the first thing that they would say is, yeah, but.
Yeah.
I do.
I agree.
I think they'd say, yeah, but.
That's the deal with Aller, which is that's your guy at number 2. And he probably is.
That's fine.
No, but he probably is number 2. But that goes to your point about the quarterback play in the conference maybe not being as rock solid as some of the names would indicate. Because you go from Dylan Gabriel, who we both have our hesitations on, to Drew Aller, who I agree Penn State fans would go, yeah, but with. And then you go Will Howard, who we've had this conversation about already.
Who may not be the full-time starter.
Yeah, may not be the full-time starter. I do think the amount that Will Howard plays will tell you who has more control of that offense. If Will Howard is,
I don't know, man.
More full-time starter
if Julian
than
is
not,
that, I'm pretty. Remember, Kelly's coach Mariota. It ain't like he needs a certain kind of guy. He's had dynamic dudes. So I don't agree with that at all. I think they want to win games and there's a lot of pressure. So I think the guy that gives them the best chance to win. This is my opinion. I think they're playing that guy. I don't think it tells me anything about control except for we got big games to win and we're going with the guy that does that.
The reason
and right on cue.
The reason I say that is I think this is my judgment. I don't have any information on this. My judgment would be, okay, if you've got Ryan Day, who's tended to play quarterbacks in a certain way, you've got Chip Kelly, who's had some versatile different guys, but plays a lot more running quarterbacks. Each of those guys probably thinks the guy that does their thing best gives them the best chance to win. So it's not like, oh, I want to play Will Howard, even though I think Julian Sand gives us the best chance to win. It's, I want to play Will Howard because I think my version of this offense gives us the best chance to win.
Yeah, I think we're overthinking it. Like Julian Sand could play his version.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's possible. And then if he can, then yeah, that Julian Sand probably ends up being the guy. And then you go, you I don't want to say you fall off a cliff, but number 4 is Miller Moss, who's played like no football. Like you get to guys with
highly touted. And the last time we saw him, it was
great.
Whew.
But it's one football game.
I do. Football. But so I want to take myself back to that moment.
Okay.
When Miller Moss was getting the start in that bowl game and Caleb Williams wasn't playing, what did we say?
That USC wouldn't have a chance.
Yep. Let's see how they do now without the guy that saved their bacon all year. Because that's pretty much what we said.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think for a lot of the year
it's extremely quarterback. Like he's saved their bacon a ton. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to give the devil his due, right? Because we said that going in, and then we watched it and we're like, oh fudge, and it looked like they really skipped the beat.
Yeah.
So I think we got to keep that right there.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
That's a fair thing to bring up.
Because I think talent wise, like
I also
a talent. He can spin it now.
Have a hard time knowing what to do with bowl games in terms of.
And now if you'd been like, hey, man, DB, like one game sample size, that's high in this conference relative to how good I think the conference could be. Because that's really what you're saying without saying it. Yeah. You're like, how is Moss this high? And he's only played one game when the conference could be this good, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, if you're
come on, other quarterbacks.
Yeah, if you're expecting to have 4 teams in the playoff, Miller Moss on a team that we don't expect to make the playoff probably can't be the 4th best quarterback in the league.
I could understand that rationale. Because I would probably say not just because he would say it makes it right, but that's how I would think about it.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's awful high for a team that may not make the kind of run that they're making.
Yeah, and I don't think most people do expect them to be making the run in terms of playoff.
Well,
like some teams, except for our guys at
I was going to say,
Analytical.
Dave and Adam could be beating their chest about their models because they love SC.
Yeah, the models love SC for sure. But then that's what I mean, though. After those first 3 guys, it's like, okay, proven production. Even if you've got some buts about it, and you've got 1 game sample size.
And Van Dyke was 7, right?
Van Dyke was 7. Will Rogers is 5. That's a guy with a ton of production at Mississippi State. Kind of a weird year last year with the change in coaching and everything like that with Leach and everything happening there. So you wonder, okay, can he be the guy he was the first 3 years at Mississippi State? Is last year the real guy? That's going to be an interesting one too. Like there's a lot of buts. Because number 6, our guy, Dylan Raiola.
I probably would put Card ahead of Rogers.
You think so?
Well, year 2 with Graham.
Rogers had a lot of production, though.
Oh, I know.
Man, that's interesting.